That's so true. And that's the part of community or kingdom mind that a lot of people don't understand, and why competition runs so rampant, because people don't look at it from that same perspective. It's like we say community over competition or women supporting women, and you don't always feel that. And so I think that it's been really amazing as I've stepped into really locking arms with other people who truly believe that on a heart level. It's created such a vast array of community, and it's also created that forward momentum and upward momentum, because it is that iron sharpening iron, and like giving ideas and sharing community platforms and really working together to make this thing, which is ultimately family. It's all about relationships. It's all about not just the relationship with our kids or our spouse, but the relationship with ourselves, and then our relationship with the Lord predominantly, to come together in such a seamless way. And so I'd love to talk first about the parenting side, then we'll do marriage, and then we'll talk about the hot topic of your new book release with food. And it's coincidental and obviously not, because God knows what he's doing. But my earlier live today was about with a health and fitness coach. And so there's a lot of parallel even in the conversations we were having earlier. But I do think the parenting side of it is something that's not talked about because of the shame associated to it. And it's something that I think parents struggle with so much in that isolated format, and they don't know what to do, that then it becomes habit. And after habit, it becomes trauma. Yeah. And so I'd love to hear just your perspective and what you kind of studied and how the book kind of evolved.
Well, so when I realized that I wasn't living life to the full, my husband had just moved us to the Central Coast and here in California. So I was in a season of transition. I had 3 little boys, age 4 and under. My husband was gone like most of the time because he worked a very demanding job during the day. And then he even was up during the night, oftentimes working with clients in Asia. So I felt like I had just been thrown into the deep end of not knowing what I was doing and how to cope with these 3 little boys and really no support system in place. And it was overwhelming to me. And I operated from a place of overwhelm and frustration. And I remember very clearly my husband leaving for work one day, and he's dressed all nicely in his suit and tie, and off he goes. And I shut the door and I look around, and I'm a very neat and tidy person. And the house is kind of a mess because, 4 little boys or 3 little boys, 4 and under is a lot. Your house gets a little messy when that happens.
Yeah. Like a tornado.
It's like a tornado. And I just remember just looking out at that and my 3 precious little boys, and they were just kids. They weren't doing anything to upset me, but I was so frustrated. And I started to just snap, like, okay, this is not okay. I got to get this mess and da, da, da. And I was drained. And then there was a knock on the door. And I go, oh no, that whoever it is, they're going to see this mess. They're going to hear me in this like storm of chaos. When I opened the door, and thankfully it was my neighbor down the street who is an older bachelor who was really hard of hearing. And I was like, okay, good. Maybe he hasn't heard me in my broken moment right now behind closed doors. But when he left, I knew, I was like, this is God. This is my turning point. I'm not going to operate like this anymore. This isn't working for me. I was still in my pajamas like from 2 days before. I just was, again, in that place of overwhelm. And I didn't like feeling frustrated and angry all the time about it. And so I committed when my kids went to their nap time in the mid-morning. In the past, that was my time to get some dishes done or do something in peace that I needed to do, or even to watch Oprah at the time Oprah was still on, to watch a show for myself for just 15, 20 minutes. And I said, no, I got to get back to reading my Bible and prayer. And I was like, I got to study what it is that's causing me to be so anxiety filled and quick to frustration. So I started examining, what does the Bible talk about anger? What does it say about anger? And I would just take one thing at a time. And then I would say, okay, what are my triggers? Like, what are my big moments where I'm struggling the most? And I just began to write them down and systematically address them one by one, because I needed to get to the root spiritually, but I also needed to get some practical things in place. And when I didn't know what to do, I asked God for wisdom. Lord, you promised you're going to give me wisdom supernaturally.